Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our Friday live question and answer class. I'll take your questions today about American accent, pronunciation, English, basically anything to help you improve your overall communication and fluency in American English. At the start today, I want to talk a little bit about the words no and not, how to pronounce them and how to use them. I do have a video lesson about this, as well as some lessons on speechmodification.com, but this is a common error that I hear both in terms of pronunciation and grammar, so I thought I would just point out give you some pointers on it. First of all, the word no has the O vowel, so you want to think about it like holding that O, no, versus the word not. I'll put that in red because the statements for not are in red. The not has the ah vowel, not, and also the T sound. Although often when we're saying words with T, we use a stop T at the end. So I might say it's not time. I'm not really going to say not time with two T's there. So watch out that your T doesn't drop off because that's a typical error pattern, because you might not be hearing Americans saying a strong T there. We're not saying not, we're saying not with a stopped T. So I'll mark that this way. So I go up to make the T, but I don't always let the air out. Depending on what happens next, not a problem. When I'm linking those, that's going to sound more like a D or a flap, not a problem. That's a little bit easier to hear. In terms of the usage, some examples, we use no to indicate none of something. So I have no time, I have no money, I have no feelings about that. We also use it for yes and no. I said no. And to indicate no something can happen. So no dogs allowed, for example, versus not, it's not a problem. I'm indicating I'm addressing the word problem. It's not a problem. It's not time versus I have no time, or it's not my dog, doesn't belong to me. There are more details about no versus not in terms of grammar in my lesson for that. There's a lot of good resources for that as well. I think sometimes what happens if people feel uncertain about which to use, they end up using something a little in between where it's na or it's no. Also, often when people are saying the word not, they might use more of an O, and you want to avoid that. You really want to think of this as an ah. You might even rewrite it with an AH, not, versus no. Okay, so that's just a little mini lesson for the start of class today. Feel free to ask your questions at any time. That's what the purpose of this class is each week, that I take your questions, we talk about pronunciation and anything that will help you. So thank you to those of you who've been leaving requests and suggestions for our word of the day classes that we have every day. I'm working my way through your requests. If you're a channel member, you can leave your request at any time and I'll cover it for you on Sundays in our members class. Otherwise, for subscribers and non-members, it may be a little while before you see your word, but never fear, it's coming. I'm working my way through those requests. So we have a question about not and nut. That's a very good point. So we have not, the ah vowel, and nut, that's the schwa vowel or the sound. This one sounds like and this one sounds like ah. And for many people, I guess nut is not in just like that. Okay, so for many people, this is an error pattern that you have. When you're trying to say a word like nut, you might say it more like not, or these two are kind of merged together. So what you want to think about here is when I'm saying the schwa, the nut sound, my mouth is not very open and my tongue is fairly relaxed. Nut. You can think about other words like some nuts, just nuts, the nuts. Sometimes these words, these fast words like the nuts, it's easier for you to use the schwa, the sound, because it's often going to be that short, unstressed You want the same sound when you're saying something like nuts, even if you're holding it longer, like na, You don't want to move to na. So I'll hear people saying the knots, and in the stress word, they tend to use a little bit more of an ah. We want to avoid that. So for ah, thinking about my father, thinking about letter A, my father is not, versus some nuts, getting anchored into the sounds versus the ah sounds. I do have several lessons about this and a video specifically with words with ah versus helping you get those tongue positions and those sounds. So thanks for bringing that up. That's definitely also challenging for a lot of people, hearing those differences in those particular words and other words like that. Okay, we have a question about, okay, so specifically someone was saying, you were asking the same kind of thing about this upside down V or this schwa, and that people were telling you that you tend to pronounce it like ah. So that's exactly what I was just explaining. So this sound, sometimes, like I said, it helps people to realize that it's the same sound basically as it's just that this one is going to be fast and this one is going to be long. So in a word like above, I have, basically I'm saying above, short and long, same sound, and above. Now, exactly how I hold my tongue and exactly how they sound can be slightly different because this is a reduced vowel. So sometimes it's super short, like above. I'm almost not making much sound there. If I were going to say it slow, above, I would have the same sound there. So just watch out that for this one, you can use this one to help you. If it's easy for you to say like the fun one, for example, the fun one, what you might find is your friends would say, okay, the and fun sound okay, but then maybe you're saying the fun one, and this one is opening up too much to ah. You want to try to avoid that. So if you can go fast, the fun one, and keep it relaxed, then try to slow down. The fun one, keeping that consistent sound all the way throughout. That's my suggestion and what works typically with my clients when we're working on this pattern, just kind of finding where they can do that schwa, that in a very relaxed central tongue way, and then applying it into more cases as well. So hopefully that will help you. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, we have a request, question about two words with the same spelling or written the same, but the meaning is different depending on how you pronounce it. So this relates to what we're talking about. So your example was the word control. So I don't know if control, we don't really actually have a control and a control. So let's use console instead. So for console, the verb, I'm going to console someone, make them feel better. I have second syllable stress. So in the dictionary, you're going to see that as console. So what you should be looking for here, even if you can't read the dictionary symbols, there's some things that can help you that you can look for that will help you with words like console and console. For example, look for this, marker issue. Look for this. So there's a line before the stressed syllable. Soul has the clear vowel, console. And then look for our schwa, the upside down E, that tells you that that one's short and has the sound. So for the verb console, it's going to sound like console. Let's write it like, we could write it like this, or this, either way, soul. We have the O vowel, console, short, long. That C-O-N, when it's not stressed, is going to have the sound, console, versus console, like I have a computer console, the noun, has first syllable stress. So in the dictionary, you'll see the line before the con, and you'll see an vowel there instead of a schwa vowel. Console, and then console, that one still has the O. Sometimes the second letter will change as well. So that will sound like console. console. I have a number of videos about this, words like record and record, project and project, and also just a general video teaching you about verb and noun pronunciation. Sometimes it's an adjective, but basically, usually the nouns are stressed on the first syllable. So like console, project, record, and they have a clear vowel there and more of a reduced vowel in the second syllable. The verbs are usually stressed on the second syllable, like console, project. So then, and record, then that r of that first syllable is this reduced vowel or a reduced I sound, not a clear vowel. So check that out. After class, what I'll do for you guys is I will go back in the description for the video and in the comments, I'll write up what we talked about today, and I'll put links there for the videos I am mentioning so that you can go directly and get a little more help and details. So come back later on today or tomorrow, check for where you asked your question, and you can go and look at those resources. You're also all welcome to leave comments and questions on any of my videos, and I'll direct you to videos that have the answers for those. So that's a great resource. And oftentimes, if I don't have a video already for what you're asking about, I'll add it to my list to cover in a future class. Okay, great. Melanie is asking about, does get off of me and get off me mean the same? Yeah, they both are just like leave me alone, or actually physically get off of me. Those two are the same. And then in the word itchy, yeah, there's no T in itchy. So sometimes we spell itch. We spell the ch sound with a T and a CH, like in itchy or witch or switch. So it's just another way of spelling the same sound. You'll see in the dictionary, you'll see a T there, but it's together with this symbol, and that's just the symbol for the ch sound. So itchy, switch, ch. There's just one sound there, even though there's 3 letters. Great questions. Thank you. Okay, we have a question about exploit and exploitation. So exploit has 2 pronunciations, back to our noun verb. If I'm talking about the noun, it's going to have first syllable stress, exploit. It's going to sound like exploit. Or you could write it like this, exploit. My exploits. So let me tell you about my exploits. That's probably a little less common usage than the verb. So for the verb, we have exploit, second syllable stress. That changes the vowels. So in exploit, the verb, you'll see stress here on the ploit. So it'll sound like exploit. So ix in the verb because it's unstressed, and x in exploit, the noun. And then for exploitation, exploitation, we stress on the ation syllable. Exploitation. So you would have secondary stress here. You'd have exploitation. Main stress here. Exploitation. So it's like exploit, the noun, with secondary stress. So exploit, noun, exploitation, noun, or exploit, to exploit someone, the verb. Great request. Thank you. That demonstrates what we're talking about, where depending on if you're using it as a noun or a verb, the syllable stress is going to change, and that will change the length of how long I hold something and what vowel sounds I'm using. Okay, question about fruition, friction, and fraction. So fruition, 3 syllables, sounds like fruition. Friction, 2 syllables. Friction sounds like friction. First syllable stress as well. Fruition, stressed in the middle. Fruition. So I would say the ish is probably 1 syllable and then it breaks there. Fruition. Friction, first syllable stress, and then fraction, we have the ah vowel. So this is the if vowel for friction and the ah black cat vowel for fraction. Sounds like fraction. For these, for all of them, the shun, almost no vowel there at the end. Just go right from your sh to your n. Shun, friction, fraction. If you have trouble, this one for the fru, rounded vowel, fruition, ishin, you can pair it with a word like mission. That has the same stress pattern, mission, fruition. For these two, try pairing with a word like it's friction, and that fraction to get those vowel differences. Interesting words. Thank you for that. I appreciate those suggestions. Great. We have a request about, can I drop the H in forehead? Forehead. Yeah, H is a little bit optional in some cases in English. Certainly we drop it in connected speech in words like her and him, like give him some time, give her the thing. In something like forehead, I would be less inclined to drop it because it's a compound word where we need a little bit of stress on each. If you said it like forehead without the H, it's going to sound a little bit like a first syllable stress word and no secondary stress. So I think it's a good idea in American English to say forehead with the H sound. I don't have to make it really a strong forehead. I don't want any stress on any extra stress on there, but forehead, my forehead. It's different than if I was saying something like forward. Forward is long and short. Forehead is not. If I did it like forward, it would be like forehead. Maybe people do that. I don't think it's very clear what the word is though, so I wouldn't recommend it. Interesting. Thank you for that question. Okay. Next question coming in. We have firm, confirm, and conform. Okay, so for firm, we have the vowel, stressed firm. So that's like worm. Thinking about it like an firm. Confirm, same thing, same stress as firm. This is just a schwa, so confirm. And then conform, we move to the or vowel, conform, and it's still a reduced first syllable, conform. So firm, confirm, conform. So for your form, just make sure you have an or. I did recently release a video with the words ear, ire, or, air, our, all of the different R diphthongs that can help you with the versus or. You can check that out later on if that's part of what's challenging for you with those words. Okay, we have a question about charged, changed, banged. So for charge and change, the letters NG, change, in change, or in charge. These letter G's say the J sound, which we also sometimes spell with J. So change has an N and a J sound. Change, changed, charged. So we say the J and the D together. So it's like jd, charged, changed. In banged, this NG, those two letters just say one sound, like in bang, bang, with lifting of the back of the tongue. So there's no g or j sound in this word. It's just banged, banged. So it's similar to the word bank. In the word bank, again, here we have the N says the NG sound. So if you can say bank, then you can say banged, banged, banged. You try not to let that G sound sneak in there. Banged. He banged on the drum. Yeah. Okay. We often don't have that NG sound with a D. Like we don't say ringed, we say rang, probably because that's a challenging combination. So good question and good request. And then similarly in banging, same thing. It's just NG and NG. So banging. Just like in singing, I don't want singing or banging, but banging, singing. That's a challenging pattern, but practicing the inging can help you. Also inger, like in singer or banger or hanger. You just need to move from the lifted NG, glide into the vowel without letting any G sound sneak in there. So yes, that's how that works. Okay. For identity, identical, theoretical, and theory. So identity, we have two options. For words with NT, Americans will sometimes leave the T out. So one option is identity. If the T is not there, we're going to make this second T a flap, identity. Or if the T, I can also say the T, in which case I would say identity. Then both of these T's are regular T's with a puff of air. Identity or identity. This is more common for American speakers. This is also correct though. Identity sounds fine. If you want to have an American accent, you might want to move towards identity, but identity is the other option. So two different patterns that will happen with your T's. Identical, same thing. Instead of itty, you'll just have ickle at the end. So either identical or identical. And then for theoretical, theoretical, this T just does become a flap because there's no NT with it, so it's going to sound more like theoretical with a stress on the red. So theoretical. Syllabic L there at the end. Go right from your K to your dark L. Col. Theoretical. And theory, it looks like theory. If you go slowly, it might sound like that. Most people will say it more like theory. There's kind of only two syllables, theory. So the theory is the theory. If I go again, theory, it's not wrong to have a little in there, but it might be easier to do theory. So that's typically how people say that word. Yeah, challenging words. Thank you for that request. Okay, super. Wonderful questions and requests today. Thanks so much for being here live. If you are watching this later on as a replay, you can leave your questions and requests in the comments, and I'll come back to those later, let you know where you can find resources for them. I'll be back again tomorrow with another word of the day. Next week, we'll be having our usual class that we have on Fridays on Thursday instead. So tune in. I'll put some notifications in the channel community page so you can see when that's coming up. So if you're used to coming on Fridays at 12 o'clock Seattle time, just for 1 week, we'll be moving to Thursday next week. Looking forward to seeing you there. And I'm going to take one last question before I go, which was, why is it correct to say, do you like to go swimming, and not do you like to swim? Both are correct. You can ask, do you like to swim? That means just generally, is swimming pleasurable to you? Do you like to go swimming is more like, do you like to have the activity of going swimming? So going to the pool or going to the lake to go swimming. Going swimming is more of a, that's the activity. To like to swim is I'm swimming along and I like this. They're almost identical in meaning. People probably just have slightly different use for them. Thank you for that question. Okay, thanks everyone for such a great class. Nice to see you here. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow in our Word of the Day class, as well as on Thursday next week, just 1 week only. Normally we'll be back then after that, regularly on Fridays for our live question and answer class. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye everyone. Thank you.